It's my faithful assistant. So, I live here on MLK, and I established a while ago that I fucking hate crossing the street here, right? So I'm coming from over here, and some guy comes up in his car and he stops. And so I'm like, all right, it's my cue to go. So I start rolling, and the guy fucking honks at me and pulls up right into the crosswalk. And I look at him and I'm like, hey dude, I'm walking here. Gave me a funny look. And I was like, I don't have to adjust my vocabulary for you. So, having been in a wheelchair since I was 5 years old, it affords me some comedic opportunities, you know? So, number one, this one is fun, picking up girls, right? So, I'm sitting at a bar, right, and I'm up at the bar, and this girl comes down, she sits down with the bar chairs. And I think to myself, oh, she likes chairs. So we immediately had something in common, right? And I looked at her, and I was like, hey, you know what the best part about dating a guy in a wheelchair is? She's like, what? I said, all you have to do is sit down. Didn't work. But, no, another opportunity, right? So, I get to have people be super confused about the functionality of my genitals, right? People are always really, really curious. I don't know why. People always want to know. You know, I was in high school, and there was this kid who was on the football team. Never said a word. Sitting in the lunchroom one day, he comes up to me, and he was kind of dumb, and he says, hey man, does your jump work? I thought about it for a second, and I was like, well actually, yes. He has a job at a nightclub down the street. He doesn't say very much, but they keep him around because when he needs to, he stands up and hits some assholes and pussies now and then. I thought it was funny. But my favorite thing in the world, right? Fucking with drunk people. Because everybody, when they're drunk, I'm the highlight of their evening. They're like, oh my god, is this some kind of cyborg? What are you? So I'm hanging out at this pub, and I go outside, and this woman looks at me, and she's like, looks me up and down. So what's up with that? And I looked at her completely straight-faced, and I said, well, I was actually abducted by aliens. As a fetus. I was being grown in this pod, but my pod was broken, right? So all these fluids that are keeping me alive and growing and developing and getting cuter are leaking out. That's why the funny face. But, so eventually, you know, they let me grow a little bit, and they pulled me out, and they were like, shit, we kind of fucked up. I was like, yeah, you fucked up. So they gave me this. And it's actually a teleportation device. I just have to wait for the mothership to come back and fix it. But my favorite story ever. So I did a little traveling stint. You know, I was homeless for a couple of years. It happens. Economy, blah, blah, you know. And so I'm in Southern Oregon somewhere. I'm sitting outside this McDonald's and holding this really clever McHungry sign, right? And this drunk home bum in like 4 jackets, carrying a camo black ice, he stumbles up to me and he's like, hey man, why are you in that wheelchair? And I was like, okay, this guy is really drunk. It's a really good opportunity to see how much bullshit I can fling at a person and have them actually believe it, right? So, I said, I wanted to test the waters a little, so I said, oh dude, that's a really crazy story. I don't know if you're gonna believe me or not. And he looks at me and he says, tell me anything, I'll believe you. And I was like, okay, it's on, man. So I started off easy and I said, so I was in the Air Force, right? He was like, yeah. And I got shot down by some Arabs, right? And he's like, oh my god. And my plane, this is the first really dumb thing that he believed, was my plane landed in the middle of the interstate. Now, Middle East, there are no states. If you don't have any states, you can't have any interstates. But he bought it. And I was like, awesome, okay. So, I dragged myself out of this burning plane. I'm somehow magically still alive. I was slightly on fire, but I solved that problem. And as I'm rolling across the road, sure enough, this semi comes by and takes me out. right? And he's like, oh my God. I was like, yep, so I'm half alive, and I'm broken and burnt and bleeding and dying, and I managed to roll off the side of the road into some woods in the Middle East. And after living off tree bark and berries and my own urine for about 3 weeks, sure enough, this bear comes up and attacks me. You know, those goddamn Middle Eastern bears. So this is where it gets really funny, though. I showed him one of the surgical scars on my legs, right? I've been under the knife a lot. I was really surgically fucked up as a kid. So I showed him that this scar right here, and I was like, that right there, fucking bear. I was like, oh my God. And I showed him the other one in the same goddamn place on the other leg, and I was like, dude, that bear was like a fucking surgeon. He got me on the other leg in the same goddamn place. This guy, like the whole time, his jaw's just dropping more and more, and he pours some beer in it. And he looks at me, and he says, dude, you've been through some shit. So I've always been told that I should be a sit-down comedian, so I thought I'd give it a try, and I hope you guys hated it.